Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on a classic wooden motor cruiser in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing it up for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing that you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. Well, this week has been carrying on in the boat shed on MV Zephyrus, and we're getting closer and closer. But we did get to start the week by bringing home down from her boat shed in Sydney, and so she's now here on a mooring ball in Genoa Bay while we get wrapped up with Zephyrus, and then as soon as Zephyrus is returned to Victoria, home gets to go in the shed. All right, really looking forward to it. Okay, let's jump back in time, see how we got here. Well, good early morning from Sydney, British Columbia. I am in the boat shed in Sydney where Poem is stored, yes indeed. And today I'm steaming Poem up to Genoa Bay where she'll spend the winter in the shed. However, we're a little ahead of schedule because I have a window of opportunity this morning to make sure I can do safe passage with Poem, and the rest of the week looks really bad and our lease on this shed expires at the end of the week. So stayed aboard last night. It was really fun. I've never actually slept aboard Poem before, and I'm about to crank up the engine, let her warm up a bit, and slip my lines. Okay, first thing, it's the blower. Gas engine, 5 minutes at least. I'll be back in 5. Just turn that off for a second so you can hear me. That 5 minutes is a good time to set up Navionics on the iPad, make sure the radio is functional, and I always set it up on my phone as well, Navionics, just in case anything goes wrong. Okay, let's spark her up. Fuel pump. Off she goes. Better warm up. Just gonna go check that there's water at the exhaust. Why don't you come with me? And there we go, that nice distinctive splurt of water. Okay, I'm pretty confident by the time I get the lines undone and the motor's warmed up, I will have enough light to go. Happily, all Poem's running lights work, so I'll run them for the next little bit. I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, I've cast off. Motor's warmed up. We're basically ready to go. Let's make sure the helm is centered. Right about there. Okay. This is that situation where I wish I was by the window. It is so frustrating, I have to be honest with you, to drive a boat when you can't actually get to a window. Look for traffic in the alley. Some of you will remember that the transmission on this boat won't engage in forward until about a little more RPM. Have to be careful because the throttle and shift are opposite of Geordie. And there's the police boat. Happily I have my lights on. Now, as I mentioned, it's the fall now. It's late October, and finding good weather windows is getting harder and harder. Now, this is a very short passage, so it's not too risky, but even this morning it's going to blow a little bit. That's why I wanted to get out early. And I'm already seeing a bit of fetch. Now, this area right here is pretty common for disturbed seas anyway. I'll be interested to see what it's like as I get out into more open water. For Victoria, and you got to keep your eyes open around here because there's half a dozen ferries that come streaming in and out of here. Alright, so we're here in Genoa Bay, and as I mentioned, I brought the boat up here a little bit early because I had to find the weather window. As a result, Zephyrus is still in the shed, so I have to put home on anchor for the next week or so. There's a bit of a complication with that. First complication is the boat doesn't have a windlass, so I'm going to have to hand do the anchor, which is always fun. The upside of that, it has Geordie's old anchor, which is about a 48 pounder, so it's plenty heavy. The second complication is I don't have a dinghy with me. Let's see if I can snag that. Okay. Easy peasy. Alright then, well I thought I'd seen a ball with a phone number on it, and so as I was coming out to anchor, I saw that ball with the phone number on it, which is very convenient to the marina. And I called the phone number, and the very kind gentleman said, absolutely, you can stay on it a couple of weeks, no trouble, no charge. Just give me your contact information for emergency stuff. So that is, I'm just so incredibly blown away by the generosity. It looks like a lovely mooring, and it has a great big 2-year-old concrete block on it. So I'm going to pick up that mooring and feel confident that Pome can be here for the next week and a half, something like that. Feeling great, actually. All right, so let's go get it. If you've been watching the show for any period of time, you know that I think it is wonderfully easy to pick up mooring balls with these boats, because I can simply reach out the window and give it a little grab. And I'm on. A nice big bowline on there, and we are moored. Love it. Well, I'm just thrilled to be able to get a mooring ball here. It just gives me so much security, and it's also quite a bit closer to the marina than I would have been able to anchor, because I'm going to have to row back and forth. I do have an awful lot of stuff aboard that really I should have tried to figure a way to get onto land before I moored, but anyway, I do have a dinghy. Let's get back to work. And well, you can hear the rain pouring on the tin roof. One thing definitely about a tin roof boat shed is that it's noisy in the rain. And it is really absolutely teeming. I'm glad I got in from home before it really came on. So I've been sanding and fairing and sanding and fairing, getting this edge as smooth and soft as possible, as well as these little ends of the slots at both ends starting to really come together. I'm going to put another little bit of filler in just a few little spots, and then after that's dried and sanded, I think I can do a final prime, sand it, paint it, but that's days into the future, especially at these temperatures. Dusty. I want to get back to mahogany. Back to fun stuff. Mahogany, so much more pleasant than, yeah. Last we looked at this beautiful bulkhead, I had just routed out the inside round over for the windows and used that same round over to round over both sides of the top edge of the bulkhead where it's going to stick up and become a dam up above the cabin top. Of course, that's all going to need sanding out to fine tune it. But before I want to get any more sanding done, I have to route out the rabbet for the glass. I'm going to do the same technique here that I'm doing with the upper helm windshield on my boat, where I'm going to cut a rabbet in here that the glass will be bedded into, and then it will be glazed in with an angle of Sikaflex 295, which is very UV stable. There'll be no wood trim at all. From the outside, this is not in an area that's easily seen because it's just out over the back of the aft cabin, and I think that'll be just fine, and it's by far the easiest to keep maintained over time. So yeah, so it just needs that rabbet cut out, which means I have to chuck up the bit in my big router bit after taking it out of the router table. Yeah. To be fair, it's actually not too hard to get this thing out of the table. There we go. All right, no stress, no stress. Whoo-wee! Love it. Okay, well, I can certainly say I'm very, very pleased with that. Now, of course, because of the way the router bit works with the pilot wheel and the round bit, we have rounded corners here against the riser. Now that only exists on the outside. On the inside, it's still nice and square. Now, my gut instinct would be to chisel this out square so I could put in a piece of glass with a square corner. But you know, I'm going to ask the glass cutter if he can actually cut that curve on the corner. After all, he's got to cut all kinds of other curves. And that will mean that when I bed the glass in here and basically glaze it in with some 295, I can do a much neater job of coming around that corner than I would be if I had to go into a square corner. So we'll see about all that. If he can't do it, obviously I'll just take the chisel and I'll cut those out square. Anyway, very, very pleased with the way that went. Now it's just a matter of doing some fine sanding just to make sure all the edges are super happy. And we can carry on with this rail piece. It's going to have to be steam bent for the side there. I couldn't carry on with it the other day because I didn't have the proper roundover bit, but I've been to the store and procured said roundover bit. And back to using the table. Nice big 1/2 inch roundover bit. Okay, so for a handrail, you would normally not want to have a flat spot on top. You'd want to be able to create a curve very similar, well, in a way, to that one, where the radius at the side is sharper and then it eases off and eases off just so it comes to a curve right at the top of the handrail, so there's no flat spot. Now that's normally cut with a bit called a lamb's tongue, and I actually have one in here. I've never actually used yet because this was for, you see it's still covered with a lovely waxy stuff. This was to make a similar handrail but quite a bit more substantial for the upper helm on MV Geordie. So I'm not going to use that for this bit here, but I'm going to achieve a similar thing in a bit of a hack. I'll show you. So I could sand this edge off so that the top would be a nice gentle curve at the top, then meeting this more sharp curve at the edge. The only problem is this curve is too high up. In other words, if to get this edge to sand down, this point is going to be dropped down into the wood too far that this curve isn't meaningful anymore. But I can get around that by dropping raising the router bit just so slightly, so that it'll actually create a shoulder on here, which is something technically I normally wouldn't want. But by the time I sand out that little bit of a shoulder, I will have created that little dome across the top. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. Okay, just about like that. Okay, now by the time I sand out that now erroneous little ridge, I will have created that perfect lamb's tongue profile on there. There we go. Well, I don't know how easy it is to see it, but this handrail now, I mean, I probably have to do some little more sanding, but has a nice gentle curve across the top, which is so much nicer than a radius, a flat top, and a radius. Just fabulous. Anyway, I'll give that a little bit more fine tuning, and that's ready to consider steaming. Well, here we have the new handrail stock and the old handrail. Now, I want to steam bend it to match. So what I need to do is set up a mold. So what I've done is I've cut up a whole bunch of pieces of strapping, and I'm simply going to screw them to my bench in an array to follow the profile of the old handrail, which I'll be able to then bend the new piece of wood around, and it will be pretty darn close. Obviously at the end I'll have to place a block or two to make sure that it doesn't spring out this way, and then at the other end I'll have to be able to put a block to pull it all the way down. But before I even do that, I want to clean up the inside edge of this so that it has a nice straight profile, and that's just sanding. Before I can get started, this stuff will split terribly if I try to run screws through it, so we'll just do a couple of... Alrighty. Alright then, so if I start with a nice solid piece for the support at this end, let's throw some screws in here. And then start to lay in the mold. I'm going to start right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a little bit of more flex into it to account for some spring back. So I'm actually going to pull a little harder than the actual shape of it right now. Excellent. Okay, so I'm actually going to make it quite a bit longer because a section of this has already been rotten and broken off. So I'm going to carry it on quite a bit further. But I think by that time the curve will be sort of automatic. Excellent. I'm really, really pleased with this. Really pleased. And good morning. Well, we're getting to temperatures that are becoming a problem for getting epoxy to cure. That filler I put on the cabin top yesterday is not sandable yet, but that's okay. We have lots to do, and I'm sure it'll be fine by tomorrow. So we're going to carry on today with the beautiful handrail project. Just have to set some stuff up, get the steamer set up, and we'll get going. Well then, for steaming, I have a small commercial steamer, which I believe is actually just a repurposed wallpaper removing steamer. And I use this bubble foil insulation stuff, and I'm just gonna drape it over the piece to be steamed because I don't need to steam the whole length of it because I have plenty of excess. So I'll clamp this end to the bench here and drape the bubble wrap over it and give it some steam, and I think we should be just fine. So let's get that set up. We'll cantilever this off in this direction here. Now, of course, this will drip on the ground, but happily I'm in a boat shed, so a little drippage doesn't really matter. Let's roll out a suitable length of this stuff. I would say about to there. Drape the insulation over. Hold it together with a few clips. Excellent. And because it doesn't actually sit on it very accurately here, the steam can work its way around quite well. And fire up the steamer and tuck the hose in. We're off to the races. Oh, the lights did dim. Now while that steams away, I'll give that a good hour, hour and a half. I mean, the old rule of thumb, I believe, is an hour per inch, but this is hardwood and I have time. So I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. We'll see how that goes. Now it's time to get onto something that I have been totally dreading, but it's going a lot better than I thought it would. Excuse me while I get by here. Zephyrus has teak side decks. You can just barely see them through all the dust here, but they're leaking. And that's evident by bits of panic tape and other kinds of goo that's been going on here. By the way, this spot is directly above the bed. So I am going to re-caulk the decks, and here you can see me reefing out the existing caulking. And to tell you the truth, it's going an awful lot better than I thought it was going to. I purchased this Teak Deck Systems reefing tool, and to tell you the truth, it works great. I mean, this does represent 5 minutes work, but it's going well, and if I just keep at it, it'll get done. The tool is sharpened to a square cross section at the end, and it's resharpenable simply by cleaning up this edge. And in fact, it works really, really well. You basically scrape along both sides of the seam, making sure that you're removing just the rubber or whatever the sealant happens to be, and not gouging the wood. You can really tell the feel of it. As you slide along wood, it makes a certain noise. If you're sliding along rubber, in other words, you haven't gotten right clean to the edge, it makes a different noise and feel. So it doesn't take long to get a really good feel for it, and it cleans out the bottom of the trough or the bottom of the seam really quite well. So nothing to do here but carry on. This has been steaming now for about an hour, and it's, whew, that's hot. I've had to actually support it at this end because, well, the natural weight of it is basically started the process of bending it. All right, let's see how this works. All right then, let's unplug the steamer. Okay. A lot of force here, so I'm going to put another block here. go. Ooh, I can feel it cooling quickly. It's very cold here today, and that's probably why. Awesome. Let that cool off and we'll be in good shape. All right, well, this will have cooled nicely. You can see I actually drove a couple of chisels in with some wedges just to create a little more curve right at the end. And in fact, I adjusted it down here as well to put a little more bend in it because I don't know how much spring back I'm going to get, but I guess I'm about to find out. So let's have a look at how much this pops back. A lot. An awful lot. It popped back to almost straight. That's not ideal. Not at all. Well, hello there and welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week, coming to you this week from the cozy wheelhouse of MV Poem, moored up in the middle of Genoa Bay, waiting to get into the boat shed at the end of the week or so. All right, let's go straight to the beer. Back to Riot Brewing, and it's their Vortex Robust Porter. Now, I know a few of you are going to say, well, Peter, I thought you didn't like porters. And well, I'm not all that fond of them. But you know, it's really cold, and I thought maybe it was sort of a suitable, I mean, it's cold out, sort of a suitable beer for this weather. It has nothing to do at all with the fact that it was the last bottle of beer available in the liquor store when I went. So let's see what we think of this robust porter. Tell you the truth, it looks great. I guess that's a robust porter. Tastes like a porter to me. Perfectly nice, perfectly pleasant, not my favorite beer. That's all I need. Anyway, let's jump straight to the board work, shall we? Again, not having planned to be here for this beer of the week, I am using a piece of wood again. Last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt is M. Callahan. M. Callahan, get a hold of me. Congratulations, and we'll make sure you get your t-shirt. Cheers. Actually, it's perfectly fine. Well, with no new supporters coming on this last week, we can jump straight to the word of the week. And because I'm a board poem, I'm simply going to use the word poem for this week's word of the week. And if you're new to the word of the week, if you'd like to win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, simply use the word poem in a comment down below, and I'll pick at random over the next week or so's. Well, not week, because this is a bonus episode midweek, few days worth of comments, and if I pick you, you'll have won a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Well, best of luck with that, and see you on the weekend. Cheers. I love this little boat. I just love this little boat. Hey, good morning. Well, let's see if this pops back as much as it did yesterday. Practically straight. Okay, so it's gonna work, it's just gonna be harder. Dang it.